Hey guys, in this video we'll be again looking at more systems word problems. Make sure you have your graphing calculators with you because we're going to be setting up these let statements and these equations, but then you get to go ahead and do all the problems on your calculator again and graph those, so feel free to have those with you. Okay, let's start with number one here. So this is a geometry problem. We're dealing with perimeter of a rectangle for this one, so it might be a good idea to draw a diagram so we can label some sides here. We know that the perimeter of a rectangle is 24 inches and its length is 3 times its width, and we want to know what are the dimensions of that rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw a rectangle for this one. And so for your let statements, we want to find the dimensions of a rectangle. Dimensions of a rectangle are going to be the length and the width. So I want one let statement to be my width and the other one to be my length. Okay, so you can use a W and an L if you'd like to. Just for ease, since we're used to using X's and Y's, I'm just going to go ahead and let X be my width and then Y is going to be my length. Okay, so these two sides are going to be my X, these two sides are going to be my Y. And we know two things in this problem. The first thing we know is that the perimeter is 24 inches. Well, you should know the formula for perimeter of a rectangle, but if you don't, you can find it just by looking at your diagram. Perimeter, means you need to add up all the sides. So to find the perimeter, we're going to take X plus Y plus our other X plus our other Y. And that's going to be equal to our perimeter, which again is 24 inches. Okay, so my first equation for this system that I'm writing is going to be 2x plus 2y equals 24. Okay, from this fact right here. My second equation I'm going to get from this fact right here. We know that the length is 3 times the width. Okay, so the length of my rectangle is y, so I'm going to say y equals, the length is equals 3 times the width would be 3 times our width is x. So our second equation is just going to be y equals 3x. Okay, so now what you can do is you can go to your graphing calculator and you can go ahead and punch in both of these equations and graph them. For this first equation here, you want to make sure you're in standard form. So if you're not in standard form yet, when you go to your graphing screen, okay, if you're not in the x plus y equals constant mode, then again, to get there, after you hit tab to pull the equation up, you go to menu, and then you hit 3, 2, 1, 3 to put it in standard form. For the second equation, y equals 3x, you want to be in what's called function mode. So you want it to look like f1 of x equals, and then you can just type in 3x here. So to get to that one from standard form, you go back to menu, and then it's just menu 3, 1. Okay, so this one is to put it in standard form, menu 3, 2, 1, 3. That's for the top equation. For the bottom equation, that's to put it in regular y equals mx plus b mode, okay, for the second equation. So go ahead and pause the video, enter these two equations on your calculator, and try to find the intersection point. Remember to find the intersection point, it's menu 6, 1, and then click play to check your answer, please. Okay, if you did that correctly on your calculator, you should have found an intersection point of 3, 9. Okay, an intersection point of 3, 9. And so what that means is, since x is 3, that means that the width of our rectangle is 3 inches. And the length, which is our y, is 9 inches. Again, when you're doing your homework, you want to write your answers in complete sentences. For the notes, this would be fine. But for your homework, you could say the width is 3 inches and the length is 9 inches. Okay, if you have any trouble getting these points, these intersection points to show up correctly in your calculator, that's something I can look at in class and try to help you with. Okay, now let's go on to example 2. For this one, we have the sum of two numbers is 27, and it says the smaller number is 3 less than the larger number. We want to know what are the two numbers. And so my let statements for this one, we're just supposed to find two different numbers. So I'm going to just let x equal my first number, which is going to be my smaller number, I'm assuming, and y I'm going to assume is my second number, which is going to be my larger number. Okay, so we're letting x be the smaller number, y be the larger number. My first equation I'm going to get from this first sentence, it says the sum of the two numbers, so the sum would be x plus y. So x plus y is 27, so equals 27. There's my first equation. Your second equation says the smaller number is, so my smaller number in this case is x, so it's going to be x equals 3 less than the larger number. Whenever you see that phrase less than, again, that means subtract, but it means subtract this quantity, it means subtract this first quantity from this quantity here. So we're going to take the larger number, which is y, and we're subtracting 3 from it. So it doesn't mean 3 minus y, it means y subtract 3. So these are going to be my two equations here. And now, if you go to your calculator, your first equation right here, x plus y equals 27, that one you can go ahead and you can use standard form for that. Okay. This second equation here, though, you can't punch in an equation where it's x equals on your calculator unless it's just x equals 5 or x equals 3, but you can't do x equals with a y in there. So what you need to do for this second equation is just solve for y by adding 3 to both sides, and so that's going to be the equation y equals x plus 3. And so now for this second equation, you can go ahead and you can plug it in function form. The other thing you could do is you could also put it in standard form. To put this in standard form, you just have to get x and y on the same side. So if you wanted to subtract y from both sides, you could also type it in standard form on your calculator as x minus y equals negative 3. So either way, it's up to you, but one of these two forms is what you want to punch into your calculator for this equation right here. Go ahead and hit pause, do that on your calculator, and then hit play to check your answer. Okay, the ordered pair you should have come up with is 12, 15, and so that means x is equal to 12 and y is equal to 15, and so you could just say that your two numbers are 12 and 15. 12 and 15 both add up to 27, and 12 is 3 less than 15, so that checks out. Okay, let's look at number 3. This time it says the difference of two numbers is 50. Twice one number equals 3 times the other. Find the numbers. So I'm going to, again, for my let statements, let x equal my first number, and then y is going to be my second number. Difference, you should know, means subtract. So the difference of your numbers is 50, means I'm going to take my larger number minus my smaller number. So y minus x this time equals 50. And then for this next one, you have to think a little bit about this next equation. It says twice one number equals 3 times the other. Okay, so twice one number equals 3 times the other. Well, think about this. If you're taking 2 times one number, and that's equal to 3 times the other number, which number has to be larger originally? Okay, it's the number that you're taking times less. Okay, so if we're taking 2 times the larger number, then it's possible that could be equal to 3 times our smaller. But if we were taking 3 times our larger number, there's no way that it's going to be equal to twice the smaller number. The smaller number has to be taken by multiplied by something more in order to catch up to the larger number. So twice one number, that means we're taking it times our larger number. And then 3 times the other means this one's going to be our smaller number. Otherwise, there's no way they would be equal to each other. Okay, so that means it's going to be 2y is equal to 3x. And that would be my two equations here. You can go ahead and enter those in your calculator. This one right here, again, you could solve for y by adding x to both sides, or you could go ahead and you could just reorder x and y as negative x plus y equals 50 if you wanted to keep it in standard form. This equation over here, you could divide both sides by 2 and put it in y equals 3 over 2x form, or you could subtract 3x from both sides, and that would give you a standard form of negative 3x plus 2y equals 0. So either way, for that second equation there, go ahead and type those into your calculator. find the intersection point, and then click play to check your answer, please. Okay, the intersection point that you should have got for this one is the point 100, 150. So you may have to zoom out a little bit to find that point, but that's where those two lines should intersect. And so that means that your two numbers for this one are the numbers 100 and 150. And again, think about this. It makes sense. The difference between 100 and 150 is 50. And 2 times 150 is 300. 3 times 100 is also 300. Okay, let's look at number 4. For this one, it says Cindy is 12 years younger than twice Marie's age. Their ages total 30. We want to know how old is each person. So for our let statements, we can go ahead and we can let X be Cindy's age. And Y, we can let that be Marie's age. Okay, so our first equation tells us that Cindy is 12 years younger than twice Marie's age. So Cindy is means I can write X equals 12 years younger means I'm going to take Marie's age. Actually, I'm going to take twice Marie's age, so 2 times Y. And younger than would be the same as less than, so I can subtract from that 12. So X equals 2Y minus 12. Your second equation says their ages total 30. That just means their ages add up to 30. So X plus Y equals 30. So now I can go to my calculator. This equation's already in standard form, so I can type this in the standard form option on my calculator. This equation here, easiest thing is probably just to subtract 2y from both sides, to also put that in standard form. And so you get x minus 2y equals negative 12. And now you can type this equation on your calculator as well. So click pause, do that, and then click play to check your answer. Okay, the order pair for this one is the point 16, 14. So that means that Cindy is 16 years old and Marie is 14 years old. Okay, now we're going to go to a couple of equations that I like to call your mixture equations. So for number 5 here, it says a zookeeper needs to mix feed for the prairie dogs so that the feed has the right amount of protein. Feed A has 12% protein, feed B has 5% protein, and how many pounds, we want to know, of each feed A and feed B, so each mix, does he need to mix together to get 100 pounds of feed that is 8% protein. So for this one, he has 2 different types of this food for prairie dogs. One has 12%, one has 5% protein, but he wants one with 8%. So he wants to get a happy medium there. And so for a mixture problem, for your let statements, we want to know again how many pounds of each type he needs. So X, we can say, is our pounds of feed A. And then Y could be our pounds of feed B. Okay, for a mixture problem, one of your equations is always going to deal with the concentration, okay, or the percentages. So for this one, you know that your feed A has 12% protein. So I'm going to symbolize that with a 12x. That just means that for every 100 pounds of feed A, 12 of those pounds are actually protein. Feed B has 5% protein, so I'm going to write that as a 5y. We want to mix those together, so I'm going to add those 12x plus 5y, and we want to get a new concentration or a new percentage of protein, and that new percentage is 8%. So I'm going to write this as 8. Okay? And also for this one, we want a specific amount of pounds. Okay? So I can't just leave it as equals 8. Okay? We don't want 8 pounds of this new mixture. We want 100 pounds of mixture that has 8% protein. So I'm going to write this as 8 times 100. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the percentage times the weight plus the percentage times the weight to equal percentage times the weight. I have a 12%, I have a 5%, I want to add those together and get an 8% and 100 pounds of that. So that's going to be my first equation there. Your second equation, we just are going to write that deals with the pounds themselves. Okay, so the second equation is only dealing with the weight, nothing to do with the concentration. And so all I need for this one is X is the number of pounds of feed A, Y is the number of pounds of feed B. I want to add those together and I want to get 100. Okay, so notice for this problem and for all of your mixture problems, this weight, the 100, you're using it in both equations. It's going in equations 1 and 2, which we normally don't do, but because this is a concentration problem, I need to use this 100 in both spots up here. Okay? So now what you can do in your calculator is you can punch in both of these equations. They're both in standard form. This equation here, you can actually punch it in just as it's written. You can write in 8 times 100 in the constant spot, or you can just make this 800 if you'd like to when you type it in your calculator. So I want you to type both of these equations in, find the intersection point. I'll give you a warning. They're going to come out to be decimals, okay? And then go ahead and click play once you found a point. Okay, for this one you should have found a point pretty close to 42.9 and 57.1. And so what that means is feed A, we need to mix 42.9 pounds of it with 57.1 pounds of feed B, and that's going to give us 100 pounds with a concentration now of 8%. Okay, the last problem is also a mixture problem. This one I have a hydrochloric acid solution, and so I want to mix a 20% solution with a 70% to get a 50% solution, and that 50% solution I want 20 ounces. So let statements, I'm going to let X be equal to the ounces of my 20% solution, and Y is going to be ounces of my 70% solution. Okay, so for my let statements, again for 1, we just want 1 in terms of the ounces. Okay, so I know I want a total of 20 ounces, so X plus Y equals 20. The other one is going to be our concentration equation. Our X solution is 20%, so that's going to be 20X. Our Y solution is 70% plus 70Y, and we want a new concentration of 50%, so equals 50 times, again, the amount, and so the amount of our new solution is 20. So 50 times 20 here in the end. Don't forget this times 20 part. So you can type, again, both of these in your calculator in standard form. 50 times 20 is 1,000, or you could just type in 50 times 20 if you'd like to on your calculator. Go ahead and type those in, find the intersection point, and then click play to check your answer. Okay, you should have found an intersection point of 812. And so what that means for this one is that your 20% solution, you want 8 ounces of it. And then your 70% solution, you want 12 ounces of it. Combine those together, that's going to give you 20 ounces of a 50% solution. Okay, go back through anything in this video that you need to or you didn't understand. Feel free to write down some questions for the next time we're in class. And until then, have a nice day. You are all wonderful people.